Hello, I'm Farah Stan, bilingual speech-language pathologist, founder of First Phrases, and owner of One-on-One Speech Therapy. I specialize in supporting autistic children and those using echolalia through neurodiversity affirming care. I'm thrilled to invite you to my upcoming live webinar with Speech Therapy PD on July 21st, titled Echolalia Explained: Practical Tools for Meaningful Language Growth. In this 2-hour course, we'll take a closer look at where the current research lies on Gestalt language processing and what it means in our day-to-day practice. You'll learn to identify immediate and delayed echolalia as meaningful and developmentally appropriate communication and walk away with implementation strategies to support authentic functional language in children who use echolalia. This course is available for all speechtherapypd.com subscribers. Just head over to speechtherapypd.com/courses to learn more and to enroll. I hope to see you all there so we can bridge research to real-world tools and turn scripts into connections. See you there.
Welcome to the School of Speech podcast, presented by SpeechTherapyPD.com. School of Speech is designed specifically for the school-based SLP to come together to discuss current topics, tackle difficult situations, and share our insights. Our goal is to bolster confidence, celebrate our triumphs, and foster a community dedicated to the excellence in the school setting. Hello, everyone. I'm Carolyn Dolby, and I am your SpeechTherapyPD.com podcast for School of Speech. School of Speech is designed specifically for school-based SLPs to come together. We're going to discuss tough topics, fun topics, and tackle all sorts of situations. Our goal is to bolster confidence, celebrate our triumphs, and foster a community dedicated to the excellence in the school setting. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Today we have Julie Barber-Bristol joining us for this episode on bringing language to life using children's books in speech and language therapy. Before we get started, of course, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. Each of our episodes will be 60 minutes, and it will be offered for 0.1 ASHA CEUs. I'm going to do our financial disclosures. Julie is employed by Cy-Fair Independent School District and is receiving an honorarium from SpeechTherapyPD.com as our guest speaker today. And she does not have any non-financial relevant disclosures to disclose. For me, I receive a salary also from Cy-Fair as their dysphagia support clinician. I am compensated for my graduate courses I teach at the University of Houston, and I'm a consultant for school districts across the nation, providing program development and staff training. Non-financial, I am a member of the TSHA, which is Texas Speech and Hearing Feeding and Swallowing Task Force. I volunteer for Feeding Matters, and I'm a member of ASHA's Special Interest Group 13, which is Swallowing and Swallowing Disorders, as well as SIG 16, School-Based Issues. All right, without further ado, I want to welcome our guest, Julie Barber-Bristol. Hi, Julie.
I'm happy to be here.
Yay.
Excited for a fun topic tonight.
Now, Julie is a highly experienced speech-language pathologist with a career spanning more than 2 decades. She holds licenses in New York, Pennsylvania, and Texas, and she specializes in school-based therapy. Julie integrates children's literature to enhance speech and language development. Currently based in Cypress, Texas, she works in the Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District. She has previously worked in the Capital Area Intermediate Unit in Pennsylvania, offering therapy across various educational settings. And in New York, she worked in private practice, delivering services to clients in diverse settings, including homes, preschools, schools, private facilities, hospitals, and nursing facilities. Is there anything you haven't done, Julie? No, I don't think so.
In 20 plus years, no.
Well, I want to thank you, Julie, for coming and joining us today. All right, why don't we start? Let's start with the books. I want to know, get us started, how you started with one book for your entire caseload. Like, that's blowing my mind.
Okay, so back when I was in Pennsylvania, I started collaborating with colleagues. We used to do professional development, and each year we'd set up a project. And so when I got started, I teamed up with Leanne Leanne Pattison, she's someone that I worked with at the intermediate unit, and she and I just really shared a love of books. And it became a project that we did for probably 2 or 3 years. And we did a half-day in-service on it. We really tried to explore how you could take a book and make it into something that was differentiated and engaging. And we covered probably 6 campuses or so on average. And so the last thing you wanted to be doing was lugging any more than you needed to. And at that time, I have a 16-year-old son. At that time, my son was a toddler going into his preschool years, and we were living at the library. And so we were at story time, we were reading books before bedtime, and children's literature just sparked an interest for me with using it in therapy, as well as, enjoying all the different facets that picture books bring to the table for kids in general, just whether it's a speech and language goal or just the joy of reading a book. And so for me, it was a combination of things that really got me into using books and literacy as an everyday practice in my therapy. I do think it's important, though, to note, currently I'm in a pre-K through 5, grade 5. I do have 3-year-olds in my pre-K classes as well as 4-year-olds. I do a lot of inclusion work in those pre-K classrooms and kinder classrooms. So a lot of what I've been doing for the past couple years is really focused on the early developing literacy skills. And then in addition to that, we are really there's a team of 3 of us, and 2 of us have worked together for over 5 years. We are really constantly looking at least restrictive environment. So a lot of our really just 1 sound artic kids, or maybe 2 sound artic kids, we have on the 5-minute therapy program. So we're not doing a lot of literacy-based therapy with those kids. Kids that have a lot of speech sound errors, we do include in more of a traditional therapy model, maybe 30-minute sessions, that kind of a thing. And so we're differentiating the instruction for both articulation and for the language goals. So,
Well, Julie,
yeah.
tell me, okay, guys, I know you've got research on this. Lay some of that on us. What is some of the research that supports this method that you're using one book? And let's start with that.
There's tons of research out there. There's textbooks out there on using literacy-based therapy. And for me, one of the most important things goes back to when I first started working with books, and that was, in the Pennsylvania Capital Area Intermediate Unit. And I read a position statement by ASHA, and it really struck a chord with me. And it basically stated, I'm going to read from some of my notes on this. I want to make sure I get it right. Oral language skills are the basis for reading and writing development. And for kids, they're going to learn to speak and listen and do those skills prior to reading and writing. We all know that that's very basic, that's elementary. But what's really interesting is that when children have a difficulty with one concept, maybe the oral language concept, they're probably going to have difficulty with the reading and the writing part. And the opposite is also true. If kids have difficulty with reading and writing, it's most likely they have difficulty with oral expression. And so when we look at that concept alone, think about how that affects a child in reading class, math class, science class, social studies, all their electives. They've got to be able to speak effectively as well as read and write effectively across the academic settings. So it's kind of neat to see that the research is supporting this. I've done other research, background knowledge and vocabulary. It all comes back to background knowledge and vocabulary. You will never find me writing a goal for vocabulary. That's not a type of goal that I would pick. It's very difficult to measure. Vocabulary is changing from year to year in expectations for students. However, vocabulary and background knowledge are built into every goal we're working on in speech and language therapy. You have to have vocabulary, and your background knowledge is something you're always pulling from as you process information and generate thoughts. So I think that's really important. Scarborough's reading rope supports the comprehension, the background knowledge, the vocabulary, the language structures, the verbal reasoning, all of the literacy functions related to using children's books in speech and language therapy. There's a lot of research into using the storybook method with teaching word meaning. And so reading a single book with a child one time can increase or improve their expressive vocabulary skills. And there's two other pieces of research that I think are very noteworthy. One is that using books provides context. We know that kids generalize and they master skills better and faster and more effectively and efficiently if we are using context. And so books just create a very natural context, and it makes our jobs easier as speech language pathologists. And then the last thing, I read a research article recently that focused on kindergarten age students. And I really like this one because it's not something that I had focused on previously. Inferencing skills. I don't usually think about inferencing skills with my kindergartners. I'm thinking about the basic WHs. And this research article talked about how you can start focusing on building kids' inferencing skills during interactive book sharing. And it said as early as kindergarten. And so in my mind, I thought that was really just a striking piece of information. And it changed how I do a shared interactive book reading with kids, particularly in those preschool and kinder classrooms, thinking that if I can start to scaffold their inferencing skills and their higher level thinking skills at that young an age, it makes it a more natural transition when they get up to the higher age, the second and third grade, where they're really drawing conclusions and making predictions and inferencing, and they become more a part of the curriculum. So those are the main kinds of research things I wanted to share today. But I really think that when you go back to the benefits of using picture books in speech and language therapy, you're building background knowledge with kids. That's huge for learning across the academic areas. I also think it's important because a lot of our books give multiple exposures to vocabulary, meaning that kids need on average at least a handful of exposures. I think it's going to vary from student to student, as well as from whatever maybe disorder or delay a child is experiencing. So I think the books just give that multiple exposure very naturally. In addition to that, we're getting our context, we're getting modeling of sentence structures, we're getting joint attention. Some of the 3-year-olds that come in, we don't even have joint attention yet. And so the joint attention is really important. It's encouraging social interactions and bonding. And that all goes along in that pragmatic realm with our kids that are very naive and very early learners. Also, I love illustrations. Illustrations are fantastic. They might be kids' first exposures to art. And if you look at some of the illustrators for children's books, they are phenomenal. And I can pull half of my language lesson just off the photos and books. And so I'm a huge, huge supporter of the arts, love the arts anyway. I have a minor in studio art. But that's one thing that draws me to the picture books as well, is I've got my visuals built in, but I'm also exposing kids to art. And I think that's a huge and cool aspect to picture books.
Thanks for the heart.
I know, I just saw the heart. That makes me so happy.
Hey, Julie, we do have a question that says wait, I don't think you meant that you do not write goals for vocabulary.
Well,
right?
I do and I don't.
I'm sorry, because the question was, if you don't write goals for vocabulary, how do you work around this with teachers that ask us to target vocabulary directly in our goals?
I'm not sure if I'm interpreting your question correctly, because when I collaborate with my teachers, they're not asking me to write vocabulary goals. When I collaborate with my teachers, we're teaching more in a strategy-based learning. So the idea of, can we use the clues in the sentence to help us figure out what that word means? Can we use the pictures to help us figure out what the word means? And so when I write a vocabulary goal, it's usually to incorporate vocabulary into some kind of context, whether it's, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head and I'm going blank. I'm thinking something along the lines of, they will use vocabulary to effectively explain something, to sequence information, to tell the story, more of a functional goal. But I really leave the vocabulary teaching to the teachers. I mean, I can support it, and I will collaborate with my teachers to support the vocabulary growth that they're doing. One thing that comes to mind is we were talking about graphing. For one classroom, they were working on the concepts of more and less.
Mm.
And so my team at my elementary school, we came up with a language lesson that we did in the classroom. I co-teach a lot with my partner at Andre, the elementary school I work at. And she and I came up with a language lesson. And the language lesson was based around a literacy book. It was March, and we decided to do Dr. Seuss's One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. And we read the book, we did some music with the book, and then we had the kids graph. And the kids had the opportunity to request a color fish, and then they graphed the fish on a bar graph. And then at the end, we counted all the fish that they had graphed, and there was red, blue, yellow, and green. And then we discussed which was more and which was less. And we did sentences incorporating those concepts. There are more red fish than there are blue fish. There are more green fish than there are yellow fish. And then we did the opposite. There's less red fish than there are blue fish. And so it was a lot of chanting, a lot of group learning. It was a full-size poster, and the kids had a ball with it. And again, reinforcing the vocabulary that's conceptually taught in the classroom. But when it comes to chapter 5's word list, I don't tend to write goals for that. It's just not something I'm comfortable with, from the perspective that kids are changing on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis what the expectations for actual vocabulary are. Does that answer your question? I hope.
I think so. But you know what? It really leads, because you were saying that you were collaborating to work on the graphing concept that was being taught in the classroom. So you chose a book. Well, that's making me wonder, how do you choose the books? What features are you looking for in a book when you select it?
There's a lot of things that I look for. I really had to sit down and think about how I pick a book, because I've been doing this for over 15 years. And for me, it's like, it's in my brain, and it's just something that I just do naturally. And so there's two things that are first and foremost for me. The first one is I need to look at speech and language development. I need to know that the books that I'm choosing are books that have my students' speech and language goals in mind and are developmentally appropriate for the children that I'm working with. So those are a couple of things. I'm looking for things that are rich in vocabulary. I'm looking for tier 2 words for my more gen ed learners. I'm looking for core vocabulary for my kids that are maybe delayed, or my preschoolers who are just learning to talk, or for my more special needs students who might be in a life skills classroom. And so I have a couple books that come to mind with core words. There's a book called Mine that just came out, and it's in my resource handout. And I loved it. It was great because we used it in the fall this year. Like I said, there's 3 of us on campus. We use the same book. All 3 of us are using the same book across the caseload. Again, we are differentiating for the appropriate needs of students, but if the book can be utilized with our students, we're utilizing it. And one of the things, Mine, it was a great core vocabulary word for my 3-year-olds. Some of them, mine, my turn, just teaching that on the core board. And it was great because there was a lot of repetition. Yes, the book is called Mine. It's by Candace Fleming, I believe. And if you go to one of the last pages on my slide, you'll see it. There's a bear and a bunny and a fox.
Did you say Candace?
I think it's Candace Fleming. I'm going to pop out of screen for a moment because I did bring a few books with me. And
I just put that in the chat.
Yeah,
Candace,
I'm just going to make sure I have the right person for you. Yes. And this is what it looks like. I know our people that are watching or listening to the podcast later won't be able to see that, but the name is in the chat. And it is in the last page or one of the final pages. So I really look for that kind of thing. There's another book that we did this year. It's called The Monster's Monster, and I'm going to hold that up. And that one is by Patrick O'Donnell, and he's actually a comic.
Oh,
I can't think the word, when you got the Sunday funnies.
Oh, he's a cartoonist.
Yes, a cartoonist. And so his book is great too. And he's got monsters in his book, and their favorite word is no. And they say no, their 10 favorite words is no, 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 no. And so the kids get a kick out of it. And so, again, looking for that rich vocabulary. I'm also looking for my story grammar. I want my characters. I'm looking for my setting with my where and my when questions. I'm looking for my beginning, middle, and ending. So we've got those story retells and the sequencing. And then I'm looking for events, problems, and solutions so that there's a lot of rich conversations that's occurring. I'm also the other top two. So again, speech and language development's my top. And then my second one is I'm looking at the TEKS. The TEKS are the Texas Essential Knowledge standards. And so they're basically our state standards for learning. And you can Google your state standards. I like to talk to my teachers, and it can literally be a text or a phone call or, a quick chat in the hallway. What are you working on next week? Do you have certain concepts in mind? What skills do your kids need reinforced? What's nice about that is it gives me the chance to either pre-teach or reteach and review information, but it also gives me the opportunity when I do a classroom-based lesson to really focus in on the same kinds of things that the teacher has focused on from a curriculum perspective. And then you get into the fun stuff. And not every book has all of these features, but they do have a variety of, I try to look for a book with variety. And so I didn't know how to prioritize these, so I alphabetized them. I didn't know how to make one more important than the other. And so I'm always looking for books that have action and movement and opportunities for imitation. And so what's cool about that is you can pair movement with your vocabulary or with your student who's maybe nonverbal or not speaking just yet. And so books will have throwing snowballs and you can throw, or climbing ladders and you can climb, or sleeping and you can all pretend to sleep, and kids get a kick out of that and they're actively engaged. And so that's really important. I want opportunities for my students to imitate those movements and gestures. I want opportunities for them to imitate sounds. Some books are like thud, or they'll have splat. And so they're great for your blends. And I'll have my kids do it 3 times, splat, 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 if they're working on articulation, or if there's a situation where they, get to make an animal noise. What do you think the animal sounded like? And we'll do different tones or different inflections. Like in the book, Mine, we're able to do mine, like we're excited, but there's also a page in the book where it goes, mine, like a question. And we talked about the difference between that and how that sounds different and how it has different meaning. And so we really get into utilizing all the opportunities that we have for using language and visuals with the book, with those actions. And I'm looking for multiple repetitions. I want kids doing it more than just once. Then I'm looking for entertainment and engagement. And I've had a hard time finding a lot of books that are not entertaining and engaging, but I like cool pictures, and that's subjective. What makes you excited might not make somebody else excited, but I do think it's important to look for pictures that kind of bring the story to life. And then also thinking, will the kids relate to it? Will they feel like it's something that is interesting and cool for them? So I try to put on, my kid lens and look through when I'm picking a book, I try to look that I'm picking something that I think my students will like. And then the next thing I look for is hands-on application. And by hands-on application, I look for, this is more for like post reading activities. I like activities that have a good broad theme that can be touched and kids can use manipulatives with. I like to use story props. And so we'll use story props during the story, but we'll also use them after the story. And so I'm looking for things that actively engage my kids and are topics and themes that they can relate to.
Well, hey, Nicole, she's asking, what has been your favorite theme?
Okay.
And
so
why?
Nicole is my partner at work. And I couldn't ask for a better partner. She and I have an awesome collaboration. We've been through a lot together. We've been through COVID together. We've been through online therapy together, figuring out all of those things as we went. So, okay, I don't think we've ever talked about this. I like the cooking books the best. I like food.
That works for me.
The pizza book. Pizza's always a hot topic for the kids, and I love pizza. We have some good like cupcake books that we found. And so I do like the cupcake books. And then one year we did a spaghetti book. And so the spaghetti book was a lot of fun too. We actually, I cooked spaghetti and we brought it in and we did a sensory bin with spaghetti. And so the kids had a ball with it. We made faces and we used spaghetti as the hair. So again, we try to come up with cool things to extend our activities. And that is more Nicole's addition to the project. She's really sensory based and very motoric in her therapy. And so she brings a different element to the therapy that I really didn't do as a therapist going from school to school to school. But now that I'm at one school, like we're rolling bins down the hallway and we're dressing teachers up and we're doing all sorts of stuff. So I think the food books are my favorite.
Just watching you, which I've loved doing, you have so much energy and you literally bring the books to life. I love it. Cynthia, this is a great question. Everyone, we all agree. Yeah, books are totally motivating. We totally want to use them. But how do you manage being that engaging, using that book? How do you manage data collection with that?
That's something that is an ongoing thing. So there's always the traditional model where I'm like, oh, yep, he answered the question, yep. And, I give the tally mark or whatever it is. And so if I'm in a small group situation with kids, I tend to do more of the traditional therapy data gathering. When I'm in a big classroom, it's a tag team effort. Nicole and we support each other. So if one of us is the entertainment, meaning one of us is reading the book, the other one is working the crowd. And so we know who's in the classroom. We have prepared what their goals and their data needs are, and we collect the data that way. The other thing that we played around with, because this is a really relevant question, and with Medicaid billing and the expectations for data in every therapy session, it's been a huge learning curve to be really effective in our data collection. And so another thing that we've done is we've created almost like a question board or some kind of quick 5-minute, not even a 5-minute, like a quick test, if you will, that we can give the kids. And so it might be if the child answers questions with a field of 4 pictures choices, it might be 4 questions written down and we've got 4 picture choices and they're able to point. Other times we have created things that are more specialized and we will just pull the child to the side and just run through their word list real quick. Or if they have some other language task, we'll create something, like I said, that is very specific to the child and we'll pull them to the side for a minute or 2 and just probe out that data.
Do you have teachers also, especially if you're collaborating on a goal, will you have the teacher take the data while you're the ringleader?
Yes. And so we have tried that in the past. We are not doing that currently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's various reasons for that. But right now we are collecting our own data.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we have used that in the past. And sometimes when we are collecting data on the same co-implemented goal or the goal that the speech pathologist and the special education teacher are tracking, I will compare my data with theirs to see if we have inter-rater reliability as well. So, and that's nice too. I can do that best in my small group situations. Small group is more your life skills or your self-contained. It's harder to do that collaboration in a full-size classroom. So I hope that helped to answer your questions. I really feel like data collection is really individual and you've got to find something that works for you. A lot of times I have my kids' goals memorized. And so I can walk out of a classroom and if I didn't have a chance that session to pull them to the side, I literally will be like, he did it. Yep. Nope. And that kind of thing. But I really feel like it's a team effort and you have to be prepared.
Going back to your books, because
Yes.
I know that you have a list because you've been doing this for years, but somebody that's like, okay, I want to start using books more. I want to incorporate books. I mean, that's pretty daunting. Like where to go, so how do you find these books? When you got started, how are you finding book recommendations?
Okay, before I answer that question,
Yeah.
I have to add one more thing.
Oh, okay.
I am also looking for opportunities for higher level thinking when I'm picking books. I'm looking for art and illustrations that are going to be interesting to the kids. And then I'm looking for something that's kind of like a theme that I can carry through the entire month. I use one book for the month. And the last thing, and I've really focused on this a lot, I think this is something that's come to the forefront, is representation. That was something that it just feels like in the past few years, representation is in the forefront of the continuing ed on literacy therapy. And it's something we're talking about sliding doors and windows and kids seeing themselves and feeling represented in the texts that we're presenting. And so in my mind, that's another key factor that I've really taken a lot of self-reflection on, and looking for books that I really am representing the students that I'm working with. Okay.
Well, actually,
Did I jump ahead?
No, I jumped the gun. I want to go back because let's do those highlights of what are the features. You like context, you like illustrations, you love that it's representing your population.
Yes.
I think that's huge. You want to be culturally responsive clinician.
Absolutely.
It's engaging. I'm trying to remember them
There's
all.
gestures and movement.
Yeah. Did I miss any?
Higher level thinking, because now that we know that we can start that with kindergartners, I've started the day after I read that article, I started doing it. So I really want to push my students to be successful.
Love it.
Yeah. So
All right.
was your other question?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I love this. I love it. I really love your passion. I love your energy.
Oh, where I find books.
Yeah, where do you find? So I know you have a ton of books, but let's slow walk people to okay, we want to get started. How are we going to find the books that we want to use? How are we going to get recommendations?
Okay. Oh, that's another good thing I didn't think of. Okay, so Nicole is watching, like I said, and she is my partner in crime. I don't even know how many years it's been. I think it's been 7 years that we've worked together, maybe 6. I don't know, something like that. But I swear we finish each other's sentences now. She made another comment that we do about data. She said, when we're reviewing a book before introducing it to our students, we put sticky notes on the pages with the target questions so that we can put a tally on the sticky note if they get it right or wrong. And I forgot that we did that. That was something we started last spring. I didn't even think about it. So thank you for chiming in with that. Where do I find picture books? Okay, so I'm going to nerd out a little bit. I go to a lot of bookstores and I go to the library a lot. I love to read, and now my kid is 16. I loved to read to him. So he now reads to himself. But anyway, so between the library, going to bookstores, and then also blogs, there's a lot of blogs and websites and the social media realm that is phenomenal for finding books. Instagram, I created a slide in my handout of some of the Instagram people I follow, just thinking that if you were looking to find books, that would be a good starting place. And then I also put a slide with Facebook groups that I follow. And really, I just kind of nerd out and read a lot of books. And if I'm at home, I'll jump on Google and I'll utilize YouTube, because there are so many books read aloud on YouTube that it saves you having to buy it or saves you having to go to the store. We typically outline our year at the beginning of the year. And so I typically sit down and talk with Nicole about what themes we want to focus on. And then she lets me have free reign to find books. And so once I find the books, we will go ahead and team on the activities and things that we want to do.
Elena, thanks for jumping in. Read aloud books are key and wonderful for teletherapy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We use them a lot, and we created some really cool slides when we were doing teletherapy. So we shared our screen and we did a ton of slides with the kids, and it really helped support both our in-person learners as well as our online learners. So
Cynthia's jumping in, and she loves looking for action-packed books that don't have words.
yeah.
And she has been able to find quite a bit of those. So that's fun.
Yeah, I love the Journey trilogy. I don't know if you've seen that trilogy. It's phenomenal. I cannot remember who the author is right now, but it's a trilogy of books. They're all wordless picture books. I really like them for more of like a 4th, 5th grade population. I didn't tend to use them with younger kids, but there's no reason you can't, or at least try it and see how they respond. Yeah. So I shop a lot.
But you also provided a handout that also has some resources for you guys to take a look at. So that's really cool. Now, let me get this straight. So you use one book for the whole month.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, you decide on your themes,
Mhm.
and so then you just have 12 books, or not
No,
12
10.
books, 10 books for
10
our,
books. We
sorry.
usually, so in Texas, we start like the second or last, close to like the last week in August. So September's book is usually August book. And then we end at usually at the end of May. And so if we go into June, May and June get grouped together as well.
But that, I mean, if you think about that, how wonderful to be, your therapy activity is one book for the month.
Yep, we deep dive.
And then you're adding on, well, we're gonna get, I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead.
It's all good. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. All right. But I just want to make sure everybody knew that they're not doing a different book every session. They're using the same book for the entire month. Oh, Joni's jumped in. She makes sequence cards for the books that she uses. Oh,
Yes.
that's so cool for retail.
Yes, and we will do that. I use Lesson Picks. It's very similar to Boardmaker. It's just a website that I have bought a subscription to. I knew it in Pennsylvania and I grew to love it. And so I will make sequencing cards with that. I also make my fringe vocabulary for my books with that. And so so how do we use a book for a whole month? Basically, the first week is pre-reading. We're teaching background knowledge. You can be using things like the No Wonder Learned type graphic organizer. And we will use that to ask our kids, well, what do you know about this? And what do you wonder about it? And if they have wonders or wonders, we'll go ahead and Google and find videos or answers to those questions. And so a lot of times we're building that background knowledge. We're introducing the theme. We're introducing those tier 1 and those core vocabulary words. And we're introducing the key concepts that we really want to focus on for that month. And so the first month is just literally, or the first week, excuse me, is literally pre-teaching and just getting accustomed to what we're going to be talking about. It could be graphic organizers. It could be videos and songs that build background knowledge on that topic. It could be just studying the book cover and doing picture walks. It could be interacting with pictures and objects that are related to the story. So we really take a solid first week and just explore the theme and the basics of the book. Picture walking. Oh, I see the question screen. So it says, what is picture walking? Picture walking is when you take the book and you literally go page by page and talk about what you see in the pictures. And you don't read the words necessarily. You may read a word here and there. If you're doing articulation therapy, you may want to focus on some of those key words with your student sounds. But that's when we're doing a book this month. It's called, oh goodness, what is it called? I just lost it. It is called Lucy's Blooms, and it's by Dawn Prokovnik. I think I pronounced it correctly.
Let's go with that.
Okay, we're going to go with that. It's called Lucy's Blooms. And for that book, it's just what it sounds like. It's about flowers. And so it's May. We're doing plants. And we've got sequencing pictures for how to plant and garden. We've got objects, Dollar Tree, watering can. We've got the pot, the little terracotta plastic pot. It's terracotta colored, but it's plastic from the Dollar Tree. We bought shredded paper to be the soil. We've got fake flowers, artificial flowers the kids can plant. And so, we're using objects. One kid, we were talking about what is a meadow. The girl's in a meadow. And that was one of the vocabulary words we wanted to teach. And it was super cute because he said it's a herd of flowers. And I was like, that is adorable. And I'm like, you're exactly right. It's many, many flowers. And so I said, but I don't know if we would call it a herd. We might just call it a field. But a kindergartner he knows maybe a herd of cows and, took that and expanded it. And so, I pictured exactly what he said. And so it's really neat to see how you can develop the vocabulary. And so with the picture walk, with the Lucy's Bloom book, one of our picture walk vocabulary words was whistling. And she has in the book her mouth and it has little notes coming out of it. And the kids, I said, do you think they're like, she's not singing. I'm like, well, what is she doing then? And they didn't know. Some knew and some didn't, depending on the group I was in. And we talked about how when your mouth is in an O, like the whistling type shape of a mouth, that you probably aren't singing, but that noise that you make is called whistling. And so, of course, we all tried to whistle. And there's our active engagement again. And the kids get a kick out of it because some can and some can't. And it just offers a nice, engaging, bonding moment and laugh. And it's a new vocabulary word.
I love it. Nicole, thanks for jumping back in. What she's really dovetailing on what you're saying is that because students might not be exposed to some of the vocabulary that will be in that book, depending on the region or state or even their cultural experiences. I love bringing that into play, that the picture walk really does help you bring the be able to discuss vocabulary. Oh my gosh, vocabulary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I worked in New York and Pennsylvania and now Texas, and Nicole worked in Arizona, Louisiana, and now Texas. And we do find that there are dialectical differences. They laugh at me all the time at work for the vocabulary that I use because I'm from the North. And so we're always trying to expose the kids. And then for me, I grew up in New York State where we have 4 very distinct seasons. Well, in Texas, we have 1 season. It's hot. And so my kids might not have ever seen snow or experienced falling leaves. And you can bet your bottom dollar that we've put fake leaves outside under a tree so that the kids can pick up leaves. And then we've made projects with them. But we just generate the experience the best we can for the kids. And it's usually with props. And again, you're creating a context. The kids are engaged and they're enjoying themselves. And so that's the stuff that sticks. And it just makes learning so much fun. And it makes our day enjoyable and fun too.
We had another question. Does a kid ever say, hey, I'm tired of reading this book again?
So I've not had a kid say that to my face.
Not this time.
But I will say we've gotten creative with reading and rereading. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to our 4 weeks in a month.
Oh,
And so the first week is the pre-reading. The second week we go to shared book reading. And with the shared book reading, we're using the text, the illustrations, and the props to make sure that we're promoting that active engagement and active learning. We're highlighting those story grammar elements. We are scaffolding and modeling our higher level thinking. We are providing those multiple exposures to vocabulary, and we're focusing on like our articulation and our stuttering needs. And so by doing that, we are pointing out vocabulary and we are asking a variety of questions. And this is where the sticky notes come in on the pages. This is when I utilize a couple of articulation skills. But what I wanted to highlight here was with the comment regarding, I can't remember what the last question was.
Oh, the one about rereading the book. But I think what you're saying is actually each week you're doing something different. So even though it's the same book. So
interacting with the book, yes.
So week 1 is pre-read and the concept. Now we're on week 2.
We're reading it. And we're doing it with active engagement. But this is the other piece of it. We are collaborating with our teachers, and we've gone online and we found a video, like an animated version of the book. We found the author reading the book, or we found a librarian reading the book. We vetted the audio recording or the video recording, and we provide it to our teachers to have the kids watch during those moments of downtime that they want them still learning, but they need kind of a brain break. So we always suggest snack. And so we send the link to the teachers, and the teachers play the video for the kids where someone's reading it to them, maybe during snack time. And so they're hearing it 2 or 3 times. And so they're not hearing it from us, but they're seeing it in a different context as well. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought with that. But yes, we are varying the style in which the child or the students are hearing the book repetitively.
Mm-hmm. Mixed media.
Yeah. Yes. Another ARC term.
I love it. So what's week 3? Are we ready or are we still on week 2?
Well, I want to talk a little bit
I'm not
about
pushing you. I love this. I love this.
So with articulation, one thing that we do is when we're going through the book, if my kids are able to write, they have little speech books. They're just little paper books that they keep lists of words in. And so we'll identify their sounds. And again, I'm a big fan of, it doesn't have to be a lot of words. It really just needs to be repetition. So if we find a word, we can practice it 3 times, or we can practice it 5 times. The other thing I like to do when I'm reading is something called echo reading. And I have no idea where I learned this term. It was in a continuing ed workshop sometime in the past decade and a half. But it's the idea of I read the page, you repeat the page. And so it's really nice for our TIC. It's really nice for those kids for auditory memory and who are working on direction following. It's a nice rehearsal strategy. And so I really like using echo reading with kids. I don't tend to do it in the classroom. I tend to do it in a small group setting because it's really hard when you have a lot of kids saying the same thing. So it's kind of a small group strategy, but it's a really nice strategy for articulation. It's also a nice strategy for practicing fluent speech and just practicing your strategies for fluency in an embedded or in a context. Okay, we ready for the next week?
I love it.
So
Yeah. So
all right,
week 3.
so week 3 and week 4, and if you have that 5th week in a month, might be are our post-reading activities. And so we're always going back to the book. We're always revisiting the book in some way. And so we're focusing on really specifically the speech and language goals. We're focusing really, that's where we're getting our really good data. There's a lot of teaching that's going on in the first 2 weeks. And so our really good data comes from these extension activities. And so we could be using toys and props. We could be acting out, making a food, such as cupcakes. We get out the toy, bowl and spoon and measuring cups, and we'll cut out scraps of paper that say flour and sugar, and the kids get to dump. And we mix and we pretend to crack eggs and all the things. And then we'll put it in the fake oven, or we'll even get out the toy oven. So we're engaging in those sequencing tasks. We are making crafts. Sometimes we make puppets and the kids get to retell the story from different perspectives or have conversations with each other from the perspective of the characters that they have their puppet for. We'll use graphic organizers. I found a really cool thing a few years ago, Oriental Trading, and it's like a red carpet. It's actually blue, but it's that long carpet kind of thing. I don't know what it's made out of, but it has the story elements printed on it. So the kids literally jump from square to square, almost like a sidewalk.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, all right, who are the characters? And what did they do? And what was the problem? And so they get real excited because they're up and moving. I'm trying to think of what else. We'll do language processing. So if you're looking for your description of objects, we'll pull in the key characters or the key thematic components from the book. So if we're talking about pizza, what is it? What group does it go in? How could you describe it? What are 2 parts? What category? How do you use it? So we'll talk through all of the language processing components. We'll create sensory bins or use Play-Doh or the Orbeez and
What's an
incorporate.
Orby? I'm sorry. What's an
Orby?
Orby?
Oh, those are those little water beads. I think they must have been a florist thing, but now you can buy them in bulk on Amazon. They're just little beads that you put in water and you can hide toys in them. I stick to plastic.
Yep.
One time we put in some little fish and they had little stickers on them and they all peeled off. So stick to plain plastic toys, but we will put toys in there and the kids will pull them out. And depending on what their goal is, describe it. Give me the category, give me 2 features, use that in a sentence, answer a question about it. And so again, this is when we're collecting that good data, but they're engaged in an activity related to the book. Songs and music, store-bought games, homemade games, creating word lists to review your articulation skills. Those are the things that we pull in those last couple weeks.
What? Okay. I'm sorry. I need you to go back and walk me through this.
Okay.
What is the blue? You said it was the red carpet, but you said it was blue.
Okay.
So do you buy each story come?
No. It is literally a mat. It's made out of, I don't know, like cheap fabric. And it is very long. We have to put it across the room. And it is almost like a sidewalk is drawn on it. And it's divided into sidewalk blocks. And the kids are able to literally jump from spot to spot going down the sidewalk. And each one is printed with characters.
Wait, are
setting.
you printing it?
Nope, it's printed on there. So it's generic. You can use it with any book.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my description
No,
might not have been good.
describe it a little bit more. So it's preset by like
Yeah.
character, like the word is character. Is that what you
I
mean?
don't remember how
Oh,
it
okay.
is,
Well,
just because I haven't
I'm sorry, it just
seen
sounded
it in a
amazing.
while. It is. It's awesome. It's on Oriental Trading. I was gonna look and see if I could find a quick picture of it. You want to keep going and I will look as I go?
Okay, so when we're looking at what are the strategies that you use, you've told us a ton. When you're using the book, you're
Mhm.
using word lists for your articulation kiddos. Echo reading, that's a great term. I haven't heard it either. So you're using echo reading and you're using that not only for artic, but also for fluency kiddos.
Yeah, it just
Mhm.
gives them a sentence to say and then to repeat back. And so if they're working on pacing, that can be one thing. They can use their pacing board with it. Or if they're working on, having an easy start or an easy onset, they can repeat, getting their voice started using that strategy. You can really adapt it to whatever the child needs.
I liked the fact that you're bringing in prompts because then you're using those prompts to actually create an authentic question and answer when you're talking about pulling things out. So not only are they moving and choosing things, they're authentically in a natural context asking or answering a question that you would normally do. Oh, I see that now.
Okay, so
I'm going to add this.
Yes, it is called,
I'm going to add it to the chat.
yes, it is called the Tell the Story Aisle Runner. And it's on Oriental Trading. And it's $17 and you can use it with any book.
Okay, done.
I'm going to just show it real fast.
I don't think you can see that.
No, you really
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, can't.
But it's like a little aisle runner. I didn't know that's what you called those. So the kids love it. And our kids love to be up and moving. So we're happy to get them up and moving. Yeah.
All right.
So
where are we at?
I just wanted to highlight a couple things. One of the things we try to do is we do try to pull in current events. So for instance, when the Olympics occurred a couple years ago, we did some stuff with Olympics. And then also just recently we had the total solar eclipse. And our kids had a ball. We had them looking in the solar glasses so they could see that you could see nothing. We did a story. It was called Sadie Sprocket Builds a Rocket, and they loved it. And we made crafts that became the solar eclipse and what that would look like. And our kids, it made such an impact on them. They had so much fun with it. And they learned all about sciencey things. We made the whole theme for that month being about like the universe and outer space. And so the book, we wanted to represent a girl astronaut. So Sadie Sprocket was our character, and she went to outer space. We taught planet vocabulary. The kids turned their teacher into a solar system complete with headband and all sorts of fun things being stuck on their poncho, if you will, that we created out of felt. And the kids had a ball with it. We tied Earth Day into that because we did it in April. That's when the solar eclipse was at the beginning of the month. Earth Day was at the end of the month. And so the kids really seem to enjoy when we pull current events in. And so if there's anything that's kind of interesting, like the Olympics, where they can learn about the different sports, or the outer space, where we can talk about the solar eclipse and how you wear the special glasses and it protects your eyes, and they can make a craft so that they can actually kind of envision it. And we show them videos and songs so that they get a sense of the whole thing. But they had a ball with it. And so I do think it's really important to think not only about themes that kids will relate to, but also themes that are related to the world. We want our kids to relate texts and relate concepts to, themselves, as well as, other books that they've read, and make those connections and into the world as well. And so it's really neat when you can take a current event and turn that into a whole month lesson.
So what are some of do you have any like really favorite books that you're like, this one I have to use? It is like my favorite book. For some of them out there, they're like, okay, I'm on board. I want to start. I want to start with a book.
Yeah, I have a few of my favorites as one of our last slides in the handout. Like I said, I like the cooking books. Pizza is always a huge hit with kids. I don't know if, food is the way to their, stomach and their brains. I'm not sure, but they seem to really like those books. I really like the book Fall is Not Easy. It's a hard book to find, but my friend Jody introduced me to it a few years ago. And it's a really cool book about a tree that finds fall to be hard and it can't seem to get the leaves right. And so sometimes the leaves are looking like a pumpkin and other times they're looking like a hamburger. And then finally they get it right and the leaves are multicolored. And so that's kind of fun for the kids. I love the Lucy Bloom's book. It was just introduced to me recently and I had a chance to talk with the author and she sent me a bunch of resources. She has tons of stuff online and I just really liked the way she presented the book. And it was a hard book for our kids. It had a lot of words. It was very long, but they stuck with it and they really liked it and they really related to it. And so that was really cool. So yeah, those would be some of my top favorites are in there. I did put the Ginger Snap Snatcher in as one of my favorites. The story is kind of like Who Stole the Cookie from the Cookie Jar, but what I liked about it is it pulls in a little Spanish because Abuela was the one who stole the cookie from the cookie jar. And the kids really liked it because I do provide services to 2 bilingual classes and they speak Spanish. So that's a whole nother fun element. We have a ball in those classes. The teachers really collaborate with us because I am monolingual. And so the kids, the gen ed kids are able to translate for me sometimes. And it's a lot of fun because it brings a whole nother level to our speech and language therapy. So those would be some favorites.
Well, that kind of really builds on your wanting to represent.
Yes.
You need to think about what is your population that you're serving and how can you find books so you can be a culturally responsive clinician, because kids want to see themselves.
Absolutely.
They want to see themselves in the books. They want to see themselves in the videos. I love that.
Yeah. One of the last things that I had wanted to talk about, and I don't know if we have a question for it. Did you have another question for me or do you want me to jump right in?
No, we love everything you're doing. Everything.
All right. So I have 3 last things that I want to really put out there as food for thought. The first one is differentiation. The book that I take in and I present to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old and how I present it is very different than I will present to a 5th grader. And I really have to think about that when I'm presenting a book. And so I really want to make sure that I'm respectful of the kids' ages, but I also need to make sure that I'm accountable to their speech and language goals because that's my job. So I really think it's important to think about how you can differentiate a book for a young child versus an almost middle school child. And not all books are able to be differentiated in that way. And so if I have kids that are older, sometimes their speech and language needs, they may be high functioning autism. And so sometimes the books will relate to things that they are encountering and other times they don't. And so if it doesn't fit, I don't do it. I think it's really important to make sure the differentiation that we're doing is important and accountable to speech and language development in the IEP, but I also think that I need to be respectful of students and their ages and grade levels. So I am very sensitive to that. So, I mean, it comes with a clause. Second thing is least restrictive environment. Classroom-based therapy has become a huge passion for me. I love being in the classroom. I love being in the classroom with my students as well as the general education peers. And it's awesome because it's a way to get another natural context for the kids, to pull them into the speech room and say, okay, we're going to do our speech therapy. And then they walk out and the teacher says, well, they're not generalizing that. So I like getting into the classroom. And this naturally segues me into probably one of the most important things that we do. And I feel as though this is going to be something that is going to be on the forefront for our profession in the upcoming years. This is just my personal opinion. There are a shortage of us and we have to provide services because kids need us. But how can we do it more efficiently and more effectively? And I think the collaboration is the piece. When we are getting in the classroom and we are working with our teachers, we are modeling, we are building capacity in them. It's hands-on training. We are building capacity in our paraprofessionals. They're seeing how to use the core board firsthand. They're seeing how we do these things and how we can support our students who have specific speech and language needs. And so I find that to be huge. And so collaboration is a big piece of it, generalizing the skills, having that other natural context. It gives us the opportunity for reading and rereading. And then one of the other cool collaboration pieces and we haven't talked about this at all, is what does the parental and the guardian carryover look like? Well, not all parents can get books, but again, when they have the title of the book, it's not hard to go online and find a copy of the book. And so you can either, jump online and get it on Amazon, or go to YouTube and you can go ahead and read that book with your child at home, or watch the video with your child at home. And we do create a Google slide annually that outlines for the parents the books and the extension activities and the vocabulary that we're working on. And we provide them with a QR code, and they have it. We provide it in a cute little handout at the beginning of the year. We say, please put it on your fridge, zap it with your phone occasionally, and see what we're doing in speech. And we have parents who have emailed and said, you haven't updated this recently. Is there new info coming? So I don't know how many parents are actually looking at it, but we do have some parents who are very actively looking at it. And we feel like that's an important component of our collaboration. Currently, Nicole Adia, our third speech language clinician who joined us this year, and I are collaborating, but I'm also collaborating with two, a pre-K and a kindergarten inclusion classroom, two bilingual inclusion classrooms. One is a pre-K and one is a kinder, a self-contained classroom with kids ages 3 to 6, and then two general education classrooms. My general education classrooms, we have students that require just speech services, but we've decided that based on their needs, it's important to provide them in the room. So we are reaching tons of kids outside of our caseload, in addition to the kids that need us, have an identified need. So I just look at like the RTI model, which we don't really follow in speech, or I haven't had a lot of opportunity to follow in speech. But we're providing really great language-based lessons to our students with needs, as well as the general education kids. And then this year I had the opportunity, we had a new librarian, Anna Campbell, and she's amazing. She and I have been collaborating all year. Well, I guess since December. We started our collaboration in December. I have students in 3rd grade who are fully resourced, and so they are never in the classroom. And so I have a very hard time getting in there for educational opportunities because they're with the resource teachers. And our district provides the English language arts reading minutes. Part of that is their story in library. And so I approached Anna and I said, how do you feel about collaborating? And so she and I have had so much fun with this, and we did a variety of collaborations. I have learned so much about what librarians do, but it's been another really, really cool collaboration. And I'm reaching 2 3rd grade classrooms, so 60 kids. When I go in to do a read aloud with them once a month, I collaborate with her. And so I think as speech pathologists, we have so much to offer. And it was really cool because I came back and my partner, Nicole, all right, how is she doing? How did it go? And I said, she's starting to ask questions like we do. And so the collaboration really works. And I love that we are able to get into the classrooms and build capacity in our teachers and in our paraprofessionals and in all the people that are working with our kids throughout the school week. So
I'm sorry, just wow. I mean, who else out there is just going, wow, Julie, you're amazing. I love ending with the fact that you're like, collaboration is key. I mean, you're right. Collaboration is key. We are so blessed to have you today. This has been amazing. So much fun.
I was so excited to come. I love talking about what I do.
I hate that we almost have to end, and we do, but let me just make sure we don't have any more questions before we go. Oh, we're just getting so many thank yous.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Also, I've been trying to be good about posting to Instagram. I provided my email and my Instagram in the handout. So if you're looking for ideas, I'm going to try to be better next school year to put stuff out earlier, because I usually take the pictures and do the lesson and take the pictures during the lesson and then post. But I think I'm going to make it my goal to post earlier and try to get a month ahead.
Okay. Let me just make sure I heard what you said.
Okay.
So you're telling us that we can get on your Instagram and you're going to be posting this.
I'm going to try.
And you're going to be doing some of that hard, heavy lifting for them. And they're going to be able to get the book and the activities you're doing. I'm just asking.
I do post a lot of stuff.
Okay, good.
But like I said, it's after the fact. It's like
That's
I've taught the class and then I took a couple pictures while I was working, and then I go home and my art side comes out and I collage them and then I post them to my Instagram. But I'm going to try to be better about maybe mid-month, say in April, post what book I'm planning to do in May.
There you go.
So that people can start thinking or get some ideas going ahead of time.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, seriously, thank you so much. Find her on Instagram. I think even if you're just getting the books to get started and then go back and get the things, follow up. Anyway, I think we need to end it for today. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on today's podcast. Remember to go to speechtherapypd.com to learn more about earning ASHA CEUs. We appreciate your positive reviews and support and would love for you to write a quick review and subscribe. If you have indicated that you are part of the ASHA registry and entered both your ASHA number and a complete address in your account profile prior to the course completion, we will submit earned CEUs to ASHA. Please allow 1 to 2 months from the completion date for your CEUs to be reflected on your ASHA transcript. Also, please don't hesitate to tell us which topics you would like us to cover in future episodes. To get in touch, drop us a line in the comment section or send us a message on social media.